Okay, so I already measured out to see how far out I wanted the towel rack and how high I wanted it. So I know I wanted 5 inches out from the end of the towel rack, and I'm going to go over this way, and I marked it here on the wall. Now what this particular one says to do is to cut out the template on the back right here so that you can actually put the template on the wall and get the holes in the correct location for the mounting cleat, because the bar itself has to be a set distance apart, otherwise the bar is not going to stay in the cleat and it's going to fall back out. So we are going to cut this out right here. I'm not going to bore you on camera cutting this out, but I'm going to cut this out right here, and we'll come back once this is cut out. But I just want to point this out to you down here on the floor. This is what you're going to need to actually do this job. Obviously this is the towel bar itself, and like I said, you know it's a dual towel bar, so this is how it goes. Very simple. This is how it goes, so we have to make sure it's a set distance apart so that it doesn't fall back out, right? So what you're going to need is you're going to need a drill, any type of drill at all. You're going to need a couple of drill bits. Now this particular one, if you read the directions on the back, it tells you you need to drill a 5/16 hole so that you can put this molly into the wall to mount this mounting cleat on it. But before we drill a 5/16 hole in the wall, we want to make sure that where we want to mount it, we don't have a stud in the wall. Because if you have a stud, you cannot drill a 5/16 hole in the wall, because the screw that they actually supply you with, these screws right here, if you screw these into a beam, you don't need to have a molly. So we're going to locate our beams on the wall first, and we're going to see if these pieces here are going to line up with the beam. If the beam is here, then we don't need to put a molly in. But if the beam is over here, then we need to put a molly in. So the way we're going to find the beam is we're going to take a stud finder such as this. And again, I'm not pushing this brand at all. This just happens to be the one that I have for myself. You want to find out where the beam is actually located. So we know that we're going to come out 5 inches. And we know that the rack itself is 24 inches. So we know it's 29 inches to the end of the rack. So what we're going to do is take our stud finder, put it on the wall like this, and now we're just going to move it across until we find the stud. And that is the end of one stud, and that is the end of the other. So we know that that is approximately the center of the stud. Now what we're going to do is going to measure from the center of this stud over to here where we want it to be, and we know it should be 29 inches away if we're going to mount it into that area there at all. We're going to put it here, and we're going to come over, and we're 31 inches. So we know when we drill a hole, we're actually going to drill it right here, and we know there is no stud there. I'll show you. Stud, and no stud. So we don't have a stud where we're going to mount this in here. So we are going to have to put the mollies in here, and now we'll see where our next stud is located. And here is our next stud, and we know we're going to be mounting it over here. So in this particular case, we do need to drill the 5/16 hole in the wall to accommodate the molly. But if there was a stud in that location where you're going to put it, then you would just drill a very small pilot hole, and you would drill this into the wood so that you can actually screw that screw directly into the beam itself. That's not the case here, so we're not gonna do it. We are going to use these mollies. All right, so the next thing we're going to need is you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver and of course a pencil, and then we're going to cut this out. And once we cut this out, we'll come back and we're going to use this piece right here. This is actually showing you where the cleat is going to be mounted on the wall. So this way we'll put the cleat on the wall, and it will mark on here where the hole is going to be for the molly to go into the wall. So let's cut this out and we'll come right back. Okay, now that we have our template cut out, we have it cut along all the lines where it's supposed to be. These little holes right here, we're going to take a screw like this, and we're going to put a screw right through the dead center of where the mounting bracket is going to be. So we're just going to put a hole through it like that, which is where our hole is going to be. And we're going to do that on all 4 of these pieces here. We're just going to put a little hole in it like this so that the screw comes through the back just like that. Because this is how we're going to mark on the wall where we're going to drill the holes. Okay, so now these are marked. We put the holes through here. We're going to put this so that the arrow is facing in the up position. Always make sure if there's any kind of markings, you'll need to make sure it's set in the correct direction. This is the up position. So now we're going to take this and put it against the wall. And now we're going to measure to the center of this hole right here. We're going to measure from the floor up to the top hole. So that way the bar itself is even all the way across. All right, so now we're going to measure from the floor. Okay, the floor to the first hole is 45 inches. So we're going to just mark that right on top. Right here. That's 45 inches right there. And now we're going to make that exact same measurement on this side over here to the center of the hole. We're going to make it exactly 45. And as you can see, we're going to go up just a tiny bit on this one side. And that is exactly 45. And we're going to put a small little line right here. We will erase these lines later, but right now we have it where it belongs. We're lined up on both sides. Okay, and now we'll take our screw and we're going to mark it right here with the screw, where we're going to put the first hole and then where we're going to put the second hole. It's taking the place of your pencil. We're doing the same thing on this side right here. Mark the hole. Mark the other hole. And now we'll take this down and you can see the holes are perfectly marked where we're going to drill. Now when you're drilling, don't push too hard. Don't push too hard and go through too far. You're just going to let the drill bit work itself, nice and easy. Okay, so now our holes are drilled. We can wipe off the excess right here. You take your molly and you fold this part in like this, and you take this molly like this and you put it in the wall like this. Push it all the way in like that. Then you take this little tool that came with it, you put it through the center hole like this, and you push it. And what that does, being that this was folded down like this, you put this behind it like this, and you're pushing this back out like that, so that this piece here is behind the sheetrock, and it'll hold it from pulling out later on. So we're going to do the same thing on all of them. Just like this, push it in, and then push it all the way in. If you can't push it in, you can tap it with a hammer, but they go in fairly easy. Same thing, you see how it's stuck? And you can feel it pop open. And now we're going to do the same thing over here. That. And now these are ready for the brackets to be mounted. It's basically going to be like this, but just on the wall right here like this, and then this later on goes over the top like that, and that'll hold it in position like that. So let's put this back on the wall now. on a bracket is mounted. Let me put this bracket back on and we'll come right back. This lock tab here, you can see it has blue paint on there. That actually is Loctite. It'll keep it from loosening up. So we're going to put this in here where it belongs, and we're going to screw it in a couple of threads, and we'll screw it down. Again, if you cross-threaded it, you'll know because it won't screw in properly. And we're just going to turn it in until it becomes, till it starts to protrude out through the bottom right here. So we're just going to turn it in a little bit. Now, if you put your Allen key in, make sure that your Allen key goes in all the way, because if it's only partially in, you're going to strip this out and you're going to have a problem. So always make sure that your Allen key goes down all the way in so that you tighten it up correctly. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see it's just starting to come through on the very bottom right here. And now we're going to take this, and this has a little cutout right up on the top right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little cutout that needs to go on the top of this right here. So we're going to hang this part on the top like this, and then put it in like that. Okay, and that's the one towel bar that's actually mounted on. Okay, now after this one here is nice and tight, we're going to take our second one and we're going to put that set screw back inside here. Okay, now we're going to hang this back portion right here on the top of this cleat, and then the bottom part here is going to go behind underneath here. But before we do that, we're going to put the bar together first. This one goes here, like this, and then this one goes in here like this. And now we'll hang the towel rack where it belongs. And now we're going to tighten up that set screw right there. Again, we have to just go a little bit at a time. Okay, so now we have that nice and tight, this nice and tight, and that is your towel bar. So you should have a little bit of, you can spin these a little bit, but they should be pretty tight. You'll have no movement in here whatsoever. That's it. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.